Hi everyone, welcome back to our EAT4Health virtual classroom. My name's Petra and I'm from EAT4Health, and today's lesson is going to be on protein. Now before we start, some of you may or may not have heard of the word protein, or maybe you've heard of it but you don't really know where it comes from. Well, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about where do we get protein and where does it come from, and why is it important for us? Why is it important to get protein in order to stay healthy and strong? So, can you think of different sources of protein? Maybe you can or you can't. But if you've heard of it before, you might have heard of things like meat has lots of protein or plants has lots of protein. Both of these things are true. Meat and certain plants can have protein, but we want to get certain kinds of protein called lean protein. And lean protein means that we don't have a lot of fat or a lot of bad fat in our protein sources. So if you can, pause the video and try and think of different places we might be able to get protein from. But if you're not so sure, you can keep going along with me, and we're going to talk about some of the different places we can get great lean sources of protein from. So one of the first places we can get protein from is fish. Fish is a great source of lean protein because not only does it have a very small amount of bad fats in it, but it has a lot of the good fats in it. And it also has a good proportion of protein compared to the amount of fat that it has. Okay, another place, as you can see, are nuts. And notice how I mentioned that we can get protein from both animal sources or plant sources. This is a great example. Fish is an animal source and nuts are a plant source. So there's lots of different kinds of nuts. I'm sure you're aware. There's cashews, pistachios, almonds, all different kinds. Another different source of protein is seeds. And just like nuts, there's lots of different kinds of seeds. There's sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds. And these are all really great sources of protein. And a lot of them also have a lot of great other nutrients like healthy fats, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. All right, we've also got lentils. Okay, these are great sources of protein. They've also got fiber and vitamins and other minerals as well. Okay, and just to point out, these three, the lentils, seeds, and nuts, those are all plant sources of protein, okay? We've also got dairy, so some examples of dairy that have a lot of protein and a low amount of fat are low-fat milk, low-fat cottage cheese, eggs, yogurt, especially Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt has a lot of protein in it. And this is another example of a protein source that comes from animals. And finally, we've got poultry. And you might have never heard of this word before, but poultry just means that it's meat that comes from birds. So chicken, our famous holiday, which we have turkey on, Thanksgiving. Turkey is an example of poultry. Some countries, it's not very popular in the US, but in other countries, duck can be pretty popular form of poultry as well. So these are all sources of protein. They're all lean sources of protein that have low amount of bad fat. And notice how we didn't include every kind of meat, like maybe you might think of beef. Beef does have a lot of protein, but we didn't put it on here because it's not necessarily a lean source of protein, because beef has a lot of what we call bad fat in it. Okay, so why do we need protein? Protein is important for a lot of different reasons, and then one of the first reasons we might think of is building muscles. If you've ever seen a big bodybuilder, you know they need to eat lots of protein, right? In order to get those muscles big and strong, they've got to consume a lot of protein after they work out, right? Another important thing to note is we don't need to have protein if you know, we don't need to be a bodybuilder just to have to need protein, right? I need protein and I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm sure everybody needs protein, right? And the reason is because it helps us grow up. It helps us go from a baby to a kid to a teenager to an adult. It helps us grow and for organs and bones and all those kind of things to grow. If you think kind of like Legos, if you've ever played with Legos, you need all those little blocks. If you're building a castle, you need a bunch of little blocks to build up the entire thing, right? That's kind of similar to us. We need lots of proteins from our food to help build us up, like our final product that we get for the Lego castle, okay? Another reason protein is important is because it builds and repairs our organs and tissues. Now, what is an organ? Maybe you've never heard of this word before. An organ, for example, in this picture, we've got a heart. A heart is an organ. Our heart pumps blood throughout our body. Our lungs help us breathe. They take in oxygen. Our stomach, that's another organ. It helps us digest food. And there's a couple other in this picture as well. But our organs are important and they help us stay alive. They help us perform very important functions to stay alive. And in order to keep these organs working correctly and keep them functioning, we need to give them protein. Okay, another reason, this one is kind of tricky to explain, but we all know that we have blood circulating throughout our entire body. One of the reasons blood is important is because it carries oxygen, and we need to get oxygen to all of our organs, right? But in order to get oxygen to those organs, we need a special kind of protein. It's called hemoglobin. And if we don't have hemoglobin, we're not going to be able to get that oxygen to our body or to our organs and tissues. So we need to get lots of protein so we can get oxygen circulating throughout our entire body. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Go Slow Whoa. We're going to do a protein version. Okay. So our first example. First, we're going to do a refresher. So if you're not familiar or don't remember, the WOA foods, our red traffic light, are foods that we want to limit or not have as often because they don't have a lot of really good nutrients in them. And maybe they have some bad nutrients like bad fats, okay? So we want to try to have as little of these as we can. Now, Go foods, all the way on the left, the green stoplight, are foods that we want to eat a lot of. We want to have them very often, very frequently, because these types of foods have lots of good things in them, okay? So we want to eat them as often as we can. And then here in the middle with the yellow stoplight, these are our slow foods. These are foods that they're not as good as the Go foods, but they're not as bad as the WOA foods. So we want to try to have them every once in a while, just not as often as Go foods because they don't have as many good things as the Go foods do. Okay, so our first example for our protein addition of Go Slow Whoa is a double cheeseburger. Now, if you want, you can pause this video. You can think in your head, is this Go Slow or Whoa? Or you can write it down or say it aloud, or you can even do like we do in class. You can pick a corner of the room if you have enough room. Pick a corner of the room to go slow or whoa, all right? But go ahead and pause this video. Think of what you want your answer to be, okay? And so our answer for double cheeseburger is whoa. This probably isn't very surprising to many of you because we know, and as I mentioned before, the double cheeseburger has beef. Beef patties, as I said, have a lot of the bad fats in them. So we're not going to want to have this very often, right? Beef does have a lot of protein in it, but we don't want to have it super often because it has bad fat. If you look back again, it's got a white bun, not the brown bun, so it means it doesn't have whole grains. And then the cheese, it adds more fat. and the pickles and ketchup and mustard, those are going to add a lot of salt too. And that's one of the things we want to try to avoid or limit in our diet. Okay. Now, next one is kidney beans. So go ahead, pause the video, think of your answer. And our answer for kidney beans is go, right? Kidney beans are a great source of lean protein. They've got, in addition to protein, they've got fiber, vitamins, minerals, but also they have low amounts, if any, amount of bad fat or salt or those kind of things that we want to limit in our diet. Okay, next one is string cheese. This one might be kind of tricky, so take a little bit longer to think about it, but go ahead and pause the video, think about your answer, okay? And string cheese is slow, so it's our yellow stoplight. Now, this just means that we don't want to have it as often as the go foods, okay? String cheese is great. It's got protein in it, and it's got calcium, which is an important mineral that helps build our bones to be big and strong. But it also has a little bit of bad fat in it. So we don't want to have it all the time because it does have fat in it that is not so great for us. But other than that, we can have it every once in a while for a snack. It's a great option to have for a snack to keep you full before your next meal. All right, so that is all we have for the protein lesson. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like, on our virtual classroom lesson, we will have another activity related to protein if you want to test your knowledge and see how much you learned. So check that out on our website. But that is all, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.